Hello everyone, my name's Alex and welcome to my channel. So today's video I thought I would talk about the books that I read in January and basically do like a wrap up video. In January I read, I don't quite want to put a number, like 3.5 books. I will explain that all in a moment, but these are sort of books that I've read. One thing that I've been aiming to do this year is to read every day, and so far I've managed to achieve that, even if it's only like a chapter a day. As long as I put my phone down for 5 minutes and just manage to read, I see that as an achievement. So really proud of that, especially because I was in such a massive reading slump at the end of 2020. I don't think I actually read a book between mid-October to December, so it's really good to, I guess, just get back into reading. Anyway, so the first book I read in January was Life of Pi, which I read on the Libby app on my iPad. So if you don't know about this app, it's basically you need a library card, but it allows you to borrow ebooks from your local library. Absolutely love it. I just think it's very convenient. I'm often not waiting too long for books, and it's great if you're on a budget or if you just don't have the space and you have to keep buying new books. I just couldn't recommend it more. But yeah, so I read Life of Pi by Yann Martel for prompt number, I think it's 34 of the Around the Year in 52 Books Reading Challenge, which is a book with a travel theme. So I didn't know much about Life of Pi when I read this. I hadn't seen the movie at the time, although I knew it was about a boy being stuck on a lifeboat with a tiger, which is essentially the entire plot of the book, so really I didn't know much about it. First thoughts, it was very slow. It dragged on a long time, and I think it was about 50% of the way through the book before anything really started to happen, and when it started to pick up. I do think that there was too much time spent on the fact that Pi's father owned a zoo, and that's where all the animals came from. And I just found myself constantly going, well, when are we getting on the boat? Because I know there's a boat. And then suddenly we were on the boat, and suddenly the boat had sunk. And that all happened very quickly, which I wish less time was spent in the zoo and more time on the boat. But anyway, so yeah, did find it quite slow. I did enjoy it from 50% onwards to the end of the book. Really loved it. I think I read that in about a day. Really enjoyed it, especially the ending, when Pi's being asked about what happened and the people who are investigating it, the insurance people, just don't believe the story that he's given about Richard Parker, who's the tiger. And ultimately he says something like, well, why does it matter what happened? Either way, I spent 227 days in the middle of the sea on a lifeboat and I shouldn't have survived. And that ending was so strong to me that I rated it 4 stars. If it weren't for the ending, it would have been a 3-star read. Like, I did enjoy it, but it just took way too long to get into it. But it was a good read, so I would recommend it overall. Next book I read was for a book club I'm part of called London Book Friends, and this was The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. So if any of you saw my January TBR video, you'd know that I had my reservations about this book. I don't like historical fiction, especially when it's set during one of the world wars. To be honest, I think it probably comes from my schooling. So obviously growing up in the UK, we learned a lot about World War I and II, but we only really learn about Britain's involvement in it. So I just wasn't excited to read this, but I was very happily proven wrong. This turned out to be a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. I love the relationship between Vianne and Isabel. I loved both their contributions to the resistance of having the Nazis in France. I just thought they were very well written characters, and I really appreciate the fact that they were not similar, but they shared a lot of traits. Because often I find in books when siblings are involved that the authors write them either as almost as if they're the exact same characters or complete polar opposites, and that's just not realistic. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm similar to my sister, but we definitely share a lot of traits with each other, so I just thought it was more realistic this way around. You know you loved it when you finish at 2 in the morning on a work night and you are sobbing to yourself. I just absolutely loved it, could not recommend it enough. But yeah, I read this for, I don't think I said, but I read this for prompt 15 which is a book that features siblings as the main characters. And also, I said it before, but look how gorgeous that cover is. So the next book I read was for prompt 25, which is a book set on an island. I read Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. So half this book is set in the Dominican Republic, the other half in New York. So I made it count. I didn't know what to expect going into this, other than obviously there are two sisters who don't know about each other and their father dies in a plane crash. I had honestly no idea that it was written in verse until I opened the book. Maybe I mentioned it in the last video just clicking through it, but I've never read a book written in verse before, and I just don't think, it's completely a reflection on me, but I don't think I could appreciate it just because I didn't know how to read it. And unfortunately I could not find an audiobook through the library of this, but it's definitely something that I do want to listen to, just because I think I would appreciate it a little bit more hearing the verses spoken rather than reading it. But I did really enjoy the book. I did again enjoy the relationship between Camino and Yahara, and I love that they had a bond that essentially couldn't be broken from the moment they met. But yeah, I rate this 4 stars in the end. I enjoyed it, I just didn't love it, and I do think part of that is on me for not really understanding the format, but it is what it is. I would definitely recommend you read it because it was very sad and it did make me have dreams for quite a while. The next book that I'm reading, which I am still currently reading, is Death on Nile by Agatha Christie. This is another book club book, and I am reading this for prompt 11, which is a book to celebrate the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum, something along those lines. So obviously books for Death on the Nile, it's set on the River Nile, which is in Egypt, so it fits. I am about halfway through it at the moment, so I'm at just slightly past where Lynette Doyle has died. I did find again the beginning a little bit slow. This is the second Agatha Christie book, and I do find that she often has a lot of characters in her books, and it's a bit difficult to keep track, but I think I've sort of worked out everyone now. But since Lynette Doyle has died, I found it really, really interesting, and I am struggling to put it down. So I can't wait to find out who killed her, because honestly the suspense is killing me. I'm going to continue reading it after I finish this video. So yeah, that's one of the books that I've not finished, but I'm hoping to finish today. I've probably got about 100 pages left, so I think I can do it. And then I'm also reading War and Peace. So originally I was reading this for either prompt 47 or 48 for a book that might cause people to react to You Read What. I have decided to change it. It's now going to be a long book because I realised that was one of the prompts and I didn't quite fancy reading another 600 page plus book when this is like 1,200 I think on my Kindle. So I'm on chapter 6 of book 2 now. Really, really enjoyed book 1. There was again a lot of characters and I have struggled to sort of keep up with it, but I did find like an online document that sort of tells you, especially with their nicknames, I find that difficult to keep track of. But I really enjoyed book 1. Book 2 I'm struggling a little bit with, just because it's the war parts. I'm not so interested in that. I hope once I sort of figure out the characters a little bit later down the line that I will like it a bit more, but so far so good. I mean, I did fall behind a little bit, but I've now caught up again, so it can't be all that bad, because by this time last year I put it down. I think I made it like a week into it. So yeah, so those are the books that I've read this month. So that's why I sort of said maybe 3.5, because obviously I'm only halfway through Death on the Nile and about 10% of the way through War and Peace. So hopefully we will have just as good a month in February. Hopefully. I did just forget to mention, so I'm going to add this on to the end of the video, but I had planned in January to read a book called Justice on Trial by Christie. obviously I've not managed to get onto that book, so that prompt is going back in the jar to be picked again at a later date. I don't really want to carry on the books that I didn't manage to read into the next month, just because I find that can help contribute to my reading slump. So yeah, it goes back in the jar and we'll pick it again another month. It'll be fine.